Many people take for granted that death is a natural and inevitable part of life. In much of the modern world, it's understood that it's a biological process, one shaped by age, illness, or accidents even. The perspective is so ingrained that it's often assumed, wrongly, that it's universal. A shared human understanding across cultures and history, that the grieving process, the rituals of mourning, and even the ways societies prepare for death are often based on the idea that it is an unavoidable end, a natural part of existence. Life equals death. However, the belief is far from universal. Across the globe, many cultures hold a very different view, one in which death is never truly natural. In these societies, death is often seen as a result of sorcery, spiritual attack, or supernatural interference rather than just illness or age.
Or bad diet.
Or lava floors. This belief is not limited to one region or time period. It appears in indigenous traditions from Africa to the Arctic, shaping burial practices, justice systems, and social structures. And we've touched upon this here and there, talking about various cultures, and it may have come up, but today we're going to really get into it. These perspectives not only influence how people grieve, but how they seek justice, how they protect the living, and how they honor the dead. Let's get into it. I was learning about the Shure people of Ecuador. They are an indigenous group primarily located in the Amazon rainforest and parts of Peru. They're part of the Jivaroan linguistic family, and they have a rich cultural heritage that includes unique traditions, social organization, and practices. They've faced numerous challenges, including colonialization.
It's hard with a hole in your mouth, isn't it?
It is.
Colonization. Colonization. See, it's hard even without a hole in your head.
Exploitation, encroachment by oil companies, deforestation, etc. Sorry, I'm really doing my best. And they have organized to assert their rights, to protect their territory, and maintain their cultural practices, some of which include language. They have a language called Shure language, and many people also speak Spanish, especially in areas where they interact with non-indigenous populations. And Shure spirituality is closely intertwined with nature. They believe in various spirits associated with the forest, animals and ancestors, and shamans play an essential role in their communities, serving as healers and spiritual guides. So here's where we're going with this.
Is this about ayahuasca?
No. I mean, it does come up, but the Shure typically do not view natural death as a common occurrence. They do acknowledge that there are certain epidemics, such as measles and scarlet fever, mostly stuff that entered their communities through contact with Europeans or Euro-Americans. But like many other groups in the area, they hold the belief in the threat of tsensak, invisible darts that can lead to one's demise.
Wow.
And any death that remains unexplained usually gets linked to tsensak. While these are considered to have a life of their own, they don't operate independently. Instead, it's the shamans who hold the power to possess and control these invisible spiritual darts.
So they conjure them.
Yes.
Okay. That's fascinating.
And to gain tsensak, shamans must buy them from one another. Furthermore...
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did this start recently?
No.
Like in the age of the internet?
No.
It's kind of like crypto?
No.
Or NFTs or whatever the hell they were?
Furthermore, the shamans need to ingest natum or ayahuasca to effectively control these darts. So many attribute illness to the actions of someone who employs a shaman to shoot sensak into the body of an adversary. And this belief, the idea that no death is natural, is something referred to as sorcery-based mortality beliefs. And it's not an isolated phenomenon.
Wow.
Among the Zulu, deaths are seen as the result of witchcraft. If someone dies unexpectedly, traditional healers, their equivalent of shamans, are consulted to identify the witch responsible. And this belief system influences justice and social relations with the Zulu communities. The Dani people of Papua New Guinea, they believe that death is almost always the result of sorcery or spiritual attack. When someone dies, there is often a hunt that follows as the community tries to identify the sorcerer responsible.
Who's responsible? So
And-
it's a witch hunt
It is.
in many ways.
It is.
Yeah.
And
But a
that's
real one.
A real one.
Yeah.
In this case, this has historically led to ritualized violence and revenge killings.
Oh my God.
Among the Ifugao people from the Ifugao province in the Philippines, deaths are often attributed to ancestral spirits being angered or, once again, sorcery. Ritual specialists are consulted to determine which supernatural intervention played a role in the death, and some groups, like the Ifugao, bones of the deceased are sometimes repositioned or stored in special burial chambers to appease spirits if the death was suspected to be unnatural.
What I'm finding fascinating about this is that it seems like across multiple cultures that have this type of a belief, it's like universally they think that death is bad. You know, it's not like you're going to a better place or you're graduating.
Sure.
Or it's, no, somebody put a curse on you.
Graduating.
Yeah.
Graduating is what my mom has been referring to, the inevitable when the time comes. And it's been something that we've really enjoyed. It's a sweet way of referring to like crossing over, and we
yeah.
like it. Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, traditional Inuit beliefs held that illness and death were often caused by spirits, taboo violations sometimes, or shamanic influence rather than quote unquote natural causes. And to restore balance, shamans performed rituals and spirit journeys to uncover the supernatural source of harm that led to that death. And they have an interesting way of dealing with the bodies of those that they feel were taken in this way. The Inuit historically left bodies in remote locations or would bury them under heavy stones to keep that spirit that had been taken wrongly from returning to the community.
All pissed off and stuff.
Yeah.
Tromping through the snow.
The Azandi sometimes buried suspected victims of witchcraft in remote locations, as did the Inuit, or perform counter-witchcraft rituals at the gravesite to prevent revenge hauntings. The Yanomami people believed that deaths, especially sudden ones, were caused by hikura spirits or sorcerers from enemy tribes who sent, once again, invisible arrows to attack their victims.
So geographically, how close were those tribes? I mean, were they in the same region of the world?
Which tribes?
Well,
we've talked about a few now.
Yeah, the one that shoots the poison invisible darts and the one that shoots the poison invisible arrows.
Okay, so the first group that we talked about, largely Ecuador and Peru, and the Yanomami is Venezuela, Brazil.
Okay,
So
Probably.
South America, but South America's huge.
It's true.
So,
Yeah. If it had been Papua New Guinea and Peru, that's what I was going for.
Okay, well, so sorry.
Thanks for disappointing.
My bad.
Again.
I mean, the point really is that there are so many common threads throughout this. It's wild.
It's crazy.
Among the Yanomami, bodies are cremated If they believe that a person died and they sought revenge against the supposed attacker, the bodies are cremated and the ashes are mixed into a drink, which is then consumed by the living. And that ritual helps ensure that the soul isn't trapped by the malevolent spirits that supposedly took their life.
Wow.
Yeah. It's pretty interesting to realize how widespread this belief is that death is never natural. And it goes from Papua New Guinea to Central America to the Inuit, Canada. So many cultures separated by geography, history, and language have arrived at a similar conclusion that when someone dies, someone is responsible, whether it's witchcraft or spirits or curses or invisible darts. They have to have an explanation, and that explanation shapes everything from burial practices to their justice systems. And it's easy to assume that the way that we see death as a natural end, the inevitable part of life, is just a default human perspective. It's not. For many, the idea that someone could simply pass away without supernatural interference, it just doesn't make sense, and they're not buying it.
They're not buying it, no.
It just goes to show that something even as universal as death isn't viewed the same way everywhere. And when you step back and look at how many people in so many places this belief has taken root, it raises some big questions. Is it just about making sense of loss? Is it about maintaining social order? Is it about revenge? Do we just look for reasons to go after other tribes? Maybe. Or is it just human nature to look for meaning in every ending? That may be just as simple as we don't like the idea that maybe sometimes people just die.
I love the cultures that celebrate it like it is a graduation, or even like the funerals in New Orleans.
Yeah.
They're so joyful.
So joyful.
And it's like a party.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That's part of my list, is that I want, a celebration.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get balloons. I don't like balloons.
Not even black ones?
I don't like balloons at all. I feel like they're
bad for the environment.
Just eventually going to be litter.
Yeah,
and
that's true. But aren't we all?
That's a good point.
Fascinating stuff.
I got my information from the National, from ScienceDirect.com, from iosrjournals.org, the National Institute of Health, an article on Springer.com called Death and Sorcery, and jstor.org.
We all know my final wishes. I want to be fired out of a cannon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? You, members of the Freak family, you listening right now, do you have an unusual last request?
Ooh.
Put it in the comments. We would love to see that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and maybe we'll read them in a thing in the middle or something. That'd be great.
Or the inbox of oddities.
Even better. I love it.